I request Mr. Sudhir Tunga to share your presentation with our audience.
अभी एक दो दिन रुकना पड़ेगा.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Sudhir Kongar and I'm part of the microfinance team at Samsung. Well, I always thought Sa-Dhan people, are really good friends, but they've kept my session after lunch, so it's my duty to make sure that all of you are awake. So I'll try my level best, and this presentation is for 5 minutes. I'll not take much time. Before I start my presentation, I would like to thank all of you, especially the microfinance organizations, who have been doing a commendable job, in providing the finance to the people who are deprived of social equality. And I would like to cover that how Samsung can enable you further to achieve this goal. I have a privilege of knowing most of you through my one-to-one equation, but many people I meet during this session, they ask me what Samsung is doing in this space. So that's what I'm going to cover today, and I'm sure you'll find it interesting. Let's start the presentation. Okay. So we will talk about how Samsung is helping organization fostering financial inclusion, which is the theme of the session also, in a digital way. Firstly, I would like to cover about what Samsung is. Most of you know Samsung as a large multinational who is into the semiconductor or technology part, but very few of you would know that we are a very large construction company as well. Burj Khalifa was made by Samsung engineering team. We are into trading, shipbuilding, hotels, semiconductors, electronics, as well as medical. So the easy way to remember the size of Samsung is you multiply Tata by 4. So we almost cover Korea's 40% GDP at this moment. So that's the size of the organization. We are the most technology integrated company in the world. Be it chip manufacturing, we are number 1. Be it display manufacturing, we are number 1. Telecom network, mobile phones, DRAM, television, home appliances, all the categories, Samsung is number 1 in the world. Samsung in India. So, as you can see, Mr. Modi on the screen, he inaugurated our world largest factory of mobile 4 years back. So Samsung runs the largest factory which has the capacity to produce more than 12 crore devices per year, which means almost 1 crore devices per month. That's the capacity we have. We have the largest sales after service network, and as a commitment to India, we make sure that all the products which we create are made in India as well as designed for India. And then we have many Guinness Book of World Records, right from we are the second largest patent holding company in the world. As far as Samsung core philosophy is concerned, we just don't make in India, we make for India, which means that all our product and solutions are keeping in mind Indian customers, Indian consumers. We are 70,000 strong team, which is one of the highest in terms of employment we have given. We have 5 R&D centers, 2 factories, 40 sales offices, and more than 150K retail points, and 3,000 service centers. As far as offerings are concerned, specific, if I have to cover about microfinance vertical, we have a dedicated team. So you can see my team is sitting here. We are close to about 20 people dedicated to microfinance vertical. All our solutions which we provide, we make sure that they can be customized through open APIs. We provide a lot of locally made solutions, which means that our R&D can customize the solutions based on your need. We work with many alliance partners pan-India who can give you technology solutions which are meant for you. And all this is covered with the top graded security of Samsung, which is called Samsung Knox. We have the local R&D center, which can help you in terms of making the solution viable for you, customized for you. Now, this is one of the basic questions which I get, that what is Samsung doing in microfinance? So this is our 7th year running in the microfinance space. So we are not a microfinance company, but we help microfinance companies achieve that goal. So as I mentioned, our commitment, few of the points I've covered. It's a key vertical since 2016. We started by an accident that, okay, we started working with a microfinance company, and that's how this vertical started. Me and my team have a fairly reasonable understanding of how MFIs function, what are your pain areas, how we can address your pain areas. We engage deeply with you. It's not scratching the surface. We have a strong team of 20 people. So far, we have enabled more than 2 lakh devices, which has been bought by microfinance companies for field staff. And through microfinance channel, we have given 20 lakh mobile devices and 4 lakh white goods. Some of them you can see on the Samsung booth, just outside this room. And we give the best value products, which means many of the products we provide to the microfinance are only manufactured for microfinance customers in mind. So like the refrigerator which you see outside, that is only manufactured in Noida and Chennai, only for microfinance companies. And then we have a very special support system, which means that as a microfinance member or a customer, you need not to call a normal consumer service center. You have to call a dedicated service center, which will address your queries in a very quick fashion. Now, there are 3 ways Samsung engages with its customers. When I say customers, means the microfinance companies. One is the enabling your field force, like we provide best-in-class products, we provide best-in-class security solutions enabled by Knox. Then you can see laptops, monitors are also there, all these supplementary products are available for our customers. Second, a lot of companies ask us that while you are engaging with us in field force automation, what is in it for me? What is in it for me as in, I have been buying Samsung, I want Samsung for my family, is there any scheme? So we have a program called Samsung Corporate Plus, through which if you are employee of a microfinance companies, you are entitled to get discount up to 30% from Samsung delivered at your home without any problem. So this is a Corporate Plus program. You can reach out to us on our booth for more details around it. So which means you can make your families happy with the Corporate Plus program. Now this is the last part of my presentation since I was asked to finish it in 5 minutes. So trying to finish in 5 minutes. Now this is one of the key offerings for the members. We ensure that members buy at a competitive price. So they need not to pay extra while the Samsung is delivering the products to their houses. And this is backed by best-in-class service support, best value products, and at the same time, installation process is automated. So if anybody in the rural market is buying this, he need not to worry about installation because that's taken care by Samsung. With this, I would like to end my presentation on a note that I would like to thank you that you chose this session. I know there are multiple sessions happening. Thank you for coming over, and I request all of you to visit our booth, meet my team who can further help you engage at a local level and take this forward. So thank you, but before I end this presentation, I just want to show you one video wherein we are working with Government of India and how Samsung along with Government of India trying to bridge the gap between people who are socially uplifted and people who are socially deprived. So can I have the video please?
मिश्रा जी
जी
आज रोहन को स्कूल से 1 घंटा लेट पिकअप करना है. हाँ
जी सर, एक्स्ट्रा क्लास है, याद है सर.
आपका बेटा बिरजू कौन सी क्लास में पढ़ता है वो?
जिस क्लास में रोहन बाबा है सर.
9? या ऑफ कोर्स. क्या बनना चाहता है?
पता नहीं सर, बड़ी बड़ी बातें करता है, कुछ तो बड़ा करेगा.
पापा कहते हैं बिरजू बड़ा काम करेगा
सर.
आप बिरजू को अपने साथ शहर क्यों नहीं ले आते?
सर मेरे लिए गांव ही ठीक है सर.
बड़ा शहर मौके देता है, जरा सोचिए. हाँ बेटा, या आई बॉट इट. हाँ कलर रोहन चलो होल्ड ऑन मिश्रा जी एक बॉक्स पड़ा है ना ये
जी
1 sec thank you it's graphite your favorite love you बेटा bye
सर ये क्या है?
इसे टैबलेट कहते हैं खाने वाला नहीं है और ये वो चीज है जो रोहन को बाकी बच्चों से आगे रखेगा थैंक यू
सर उस दिन आपने मौके के बारे में कहा था ना ये रहा मेरा बेटा बिरजू उसको भी सैमसंग टैबलेट मिला है सर
अच्छा
गवर्नमेंट ने उसके स्कूल के पूरे क्लास को दिया है सर
क्या बात है
ये कॉपर ऑक्साइड बनने के कारण होता है कॉपर ऑक्साइड कॉपर में ऑक्सीजन के योग से बनता है
अब बिरजू भी टैबलेट से पढ़ने लगा है सर
टेक्नोलॉजी से ही आएगी
क्या सर
इक्वालिटी
इक्वालिटी
हमें विश्वास है कि एक दिन देखते ही देखते हमारे समाज में जो दूरियां हैं वो मिट जाएंगी और इंडिया का हर स्टूडेंट हर बिरजू हर रोहन कंधे से कंधा मिलाकर आगे बढ़ेगा
जब एक जैसा हो मौका तो मिट जाएगा फासला जब एक जैसा हो मौका तो सब छू लेंगे आसमां तो सब छू लेंगे आसमां
So I hope you like the video and the concept Samsung has created. So thank you so much, and please visit our booth. We are here for next 2 days, today and tomorrow. Thank you and have a lovely time. Thank you.
Thank you, Sudhir, for the wonderful presentation and show the space for microfinance institution for the Samsung. So, to begin with our next session, the session is about making agriculture climate smart, role of microfinance. So, I would like to invite my esteemed panelists for the session. So, Mr. Ganesh, Neelam, Director, Sustain Plus Energy Foundation. Mr. Arindom, Datta, Executive Director, Rabobank. Dr. Shailendra, Dwivedi, Director, Climate Change and Circular Economy, GIZ, India. Ms. Purvi, Bhavsar, Co-founder and MD, Pahal Financial Services Limited. And Mr. Jacob Koshy, Deputy Editor, The Hindu, to moderate the session. Mr. Hegde, Mr. Dr. Divakar Hegde, MD, NEF. I request Mr. Koshy to moderate the session, and there's a time constraint, so I hope you will accordingly moderate the session.
It's 2:20, so do we still have the 1 hour or is it?
So just try to keep it at 2:45 or 50.
That's going to be serious eating to our time.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to have all of you in this very stimulating breakaway session that I believe it seems to combine three really, really big subjects. There is climate, there is agriculture, and there is microfinance. Each of them are worth 2-day sessions in their own selves, but let's see what we can, given that we have a very eminent set of panelists over here who in their own diverse capacities have been working in aspects of the sector. So as a form of introduction, it's pretty opportune that, just about 1,000 odd kilometers away in Egypt, there is a huge delegation of nearly 40,000 people from all across the world who are discussing an issue that essentially boils down to climate and finance. I mean, we all know the climate problem and, carbon dioxide in the air, in the atmosphere that needs to be taken out. But the big issue really is how people know who should pay for it, but how should the payment act for that? And when you microcosm it back to India, we see several issues of the climate crisis playing out. Now, there is questions of methane emissions, there is question of sustainable farming, but nothing brings the climate crisis home to Delhi NCR more than the October, November burning of stubble that happens. And through the many years, we've had several kinds of analysis and discussions on what can be done to stop this problem. Is agricultural practices a major role player in this? And what are the steps that we as a society and multiple communities can take towards addressing this? So I will, to open up this very general kind of debate and have a stimulating set of exchanges, I would like to invite all of my panelists one by one as an opening to kind of situate where they are coming from. I mean, what are their specialities and core strengths, and answer in just 2 minutes their particular views on how climate and microfinance, how they come together, and what microfinance can do to stimulate a green economy. I would like to begin this discussion with Purvi to my extreme left. Please, Purvi. Yeah, it's on.
Good afternoon. The session is right after lunch, but I can see the very known faces who are really very keen on talking, understanding, and making some contribution to a burning cause of climate and its impact. I'm also the one who's representing microfinance here on the panel. And for those who attended Mr. Jayant Sinha's session in the morning, he actually stole the thunder out of what I wanted to say. He made such a detailed presentation with the help of a lot of graphs and pictures and data, which was more than anything. It was speaking so loud about how microfinance can play a role. But I'll just talk a couple of points. As most of us know that microfinance is, we work at a grassroots level. And the data shows that we are reaching out to close to about 6 crore unique households. 75% of those households are in rural areas, and they are directly or indirectly engaged with agriculture or allied activities. 25% which are in urban areas also, they are more sort of a informal economy, and they also take a big, they also get impacted very badly with any climate adverse situation happening. So microfinance has a very important role to play because we are directly connected to them. We already have an established relationship. They trust us. And, microfinance, as I just heard him saying that at COP27, whatever discussions are happening, I think microfinance is at an intersection of financial inclusion, climate, and agriculture. So we have a huge role to play. And given our connect and the reach, the expected reach in about next 4 to 5 years is close to reaching about 25 crore household. And just imagine the kind of rural reach that we will establish in next 5 years. And I think we are most appropriately poised to contribute in a most positive manner for the cause.
Over to you, Mr. Hegde, and your thoughts on this issue.
Thank you, Mr. Koshy. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I have got a unique position here. I was 2 years back, I was with Center for Climate Change, which is a NABARD set-up center at Bird, Lucknow. And I was also involved in conducting capacity development programs on climate finance. Now I have moved to NAFINS as its MD, which is actually financing, microfinancing actually, our women entrepreneurs. The question is very interesting. So if you see, any climate-related disaster happens, who is the most affected party? The study shows that it is mostly it is women and children. So they will be the first affected party. When that is the case, so if they are empowered, if they are strengthened, I think that takes care of at least the major part of the disaster management. So our products, though they are very small in nature, they build the resilience in the women entrepreneurship, in the women households. So this resilience will help them to withstand any climate-related onslaughts. I'm very much sure about that. And also at the same time, microfinance can design products, and we are also financing many mitigation and adaptation-related activities, which drops together make ocean. Microfinance is like many drops coming together and making an ocean. So all these together, they are making that impact. So that is a collective impact which is happening because of the small loans. I think that has a huge impact on the climate. Thank you.
Mr. Ganesh, Neelam, and you're from Sustain Plus, and I would expect an energy kind of perspective.
Yeah, it's working. Thank you. So we basically come from the end user's perspective, mainly the communities, as Mr. Divakar also mentioned. So Sustain Plus Energy Foundation mainly looks at how renewable energy, decentralized renewable energy can become an important enabler on addressing some of the issues that the small and marginal families face, be it on agriculture, be it on livestock. So we try and see how that work can happen. Something that is a learning for us in the last few years of our work with the communities, mainly with women, has been their own knowledge base, which is the traditional knowledge that they have in the space of agriculture, along with technology. How do we combine both of them together to see that they are addressing the climate adaptation or the climate mitigation related issues is something which has been an important learning for us. So you need to marry both of them. And when you have to bring in technology, you will need finance. And that's where I think financial inclusion or the work that MFIs can actually bring in comes as an important support system. And that's what we are trying to do, again, with Sa-Dhan and with GIZ. We are trying to see how we can encourage some of these MFIs to lend for agriculture technologies which are climate smart and which are basically also something which the communities are understanding and they're also adapting to those technologies. So that's broadly a perspective that we want to bring into the table. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Arindom.
Yeah, thank you. So I represent Rabobank. It's the world's largest financial institution in the food and agri space, and it's also the world's most sustainable bank. Now, we run some of the largest climate financing programs in India. What we do is what's popularly called as blended finance solution. We pull in philanthropic capital, public sector capital and commercial capital to be able to build up these financing solutions in India. And we have local retail institutions, these are impact funds, NBFCs, and the banks which fund these transactions in India. Now, when we talk about adaptation, resilience, or of mitigation, in case of agriculture, which is the second largest polluting sector in the world, it all starts at the farmer's field. So we have to talk about soil, we have to talk about water, we have to talk about energy usage, we have to talk about food loss, etc. And the biggest advantage that microfinance institutions have in India is the outreach and the ability to work in remote rural areas, mostly the farming community and families. So the opportunity for microfinance institutions to make a transition from inclusive financing to climate financing is huge. But having said that, there are two big issues in the Indian market. One is the taxonomy, and second is measurement. Because if you don't measure the impact on climate by the financing you do, you cannot claim it to be climate financing. So these are the big two issues I think, the SROs or EPICS institutions like Sa-Dhan can work on, but it's very much required before we even talk about climate financing. Thank you.
Mr. Dwivedi, over to you.
Thank you, Jacob. At the outset, I would like to congratulate Sa-Dhan for organizing this wonderful Kumbh, I'll say, for exchanging and sharing knowledge and experiences on climate-related issues. I represent Indo-German cooperation on technical issues. I'm part of a company called GIZ. We work on behalf of Government of Germany, and we work with various Indian ministries and institutions like NABARD, as well as, civil society actors, think tanks, and technical institutions. Before I come to your point, Jacob, I would like to, again, present a perspective in which I feel how MFIs can kind of play a very, I'll say, meaningful and tangible role in making at least some of these sectors in which they are active much more climate resilient. So Jacob spoke about this COP27, no? This big Mahakumbh going on in Sharm el-Sheikh right now. And I think there is one buzzword there. Everybody is talking about 1.5 degree. I don't know how many of MFIs here are aware of this target 1.5 degree. Can you raise your hand, actually, people, colleagues who are aware of 1.5 degree? Only a couple of hands. So that's the target. That's the target now. These 40,000 people from across the globe, they are trying to figure out how can we meet that target. No? And this discussion has been going on for years now. So that's one perspective. You talk about target, and then you start talking about technology, finance, and other things, no, which is required to meet that target. There is another perspective, which is now, I think, is inevitable. No, we cannot afford to ignore that. And that perspective is about climate action, no? Action on the ground. MFIs, I see, can become a pioneer, or maybe can become a leading or kind of a lighthouse on demonstrating how climate action can be demonstrated on the ground, even if it contributes maybe a fraction of a 1.5 degree, no? So we are into an arena, some people call it climate crisis, climate chaos. Unfortunately, we are not still internalize it, no? We don't realize it, the kind of crisis in which we are living. And there is one school of thought which call it now, this decade is a decade of action, no? If we don't take action, we are absolutely not going to meet that 1.5 target. Even 2 degree will be something which is very difficult to achieve it. And that's where I see this huge outreach provided by MFIs, no, can contribute towards contributing, not only on the mitigation part, but also on the adaptation part. So that was one, and therefore, normally I come across this argument that we are small financial institutions, we are small players. What can we do on a topic like climate, which is, planetary in nature, no? What is our contributions? No. Even if each microfinance institution is able to contribute a couple of tons of GHG reduction, no, I think that's what is required. That's what kind of situation we are in. So our contribution is actually much more tangible, and we cannot keep kind of arguing that we are pretty small. Now, I fully agree with what Arindom said and a couple of other speakers, no, that, role of Sa-Dhan, a network, no, that's where we can do a much more kind of a scalable impact. So what we are trying to do, we are trying to promote climate action through different measures. So we are supporting, and that's what I think even MFIs can also contribute towards climate agenda, no? The first approach is mainstreaming climate action into your own sphere of action, no? So if you are an MFI, you are doing something, you have to think, how can I integrate climate action in my own classical work, business as usual work? That's one thing. Now, a group like this or Sa-Dhan can also harvest these experiences and can think of designing big projects, no, huge projects, which can be financed through multilateral, bilateral Green Climate Fund. So that is another level of action which, microfinance can come together, can design it, and then they can contribute to the climate agenda. And the third one is basically if uh, even at the local level, no, there are startups, there are active companies who claim that they have developed a climate solutions to many of these problems. So if MFIs and these active companies can jointly convince farmers, farmer producer organizations to see a value in those products, and if MFIs can facilitate access to kind of finance these products, that can also bring a lot of change on the ground. So these are three different mechanisms through which we in GIZ, along with our partners like Sustain Plus, Cine, even Selcos, no, we are trying to make impact. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Dwivedi, and thank you all panelists for setting the stage for the discussion. So what I'd like to go ahead with is to put a general question, and any of you can come in and any of you can actually give your thoughts. And this is something which I mentioned in my opening and is something that is very connected to climate and agriculture, is a question of stubble burning in Delhi. Now, one of the solutions, or one of the or what farmers actually have been saying, is that even though they say that they don't have a choice. I mean, nobody would like to burn stubble, knowing fully well its health impacts. But they say they are hobbled, or they are challenged by the lack of enough tractors, enough technology, or in fact finance to be able to access them. So now we have people who, Purvi and Mr. Hegde, you work closely with rural institutions and with, I guess, the agricultural sector. Do you see, how do you see, do you think there's a solution to this that microfinance can provide? Or if it is something that is a solution that microfinance can provide, why is it already not being provided? Are there any challenges to it? So Purvi, would you like to comment on this?
So you are asking a very specific question on this burning and related pollution issue. We are, in fact, I'm sure we are going to learn about those technologies which are going to be available. But right now, the availability of suitable technology is very limited. That is our understanding, because we are working very closely in the villages. A lot of experimental things are happening. So, people are still experimenting, but we cannot go and sell those technology, because when we try and sell something, it directly gets linked with our recoveries. So if the technology fails, or if client is not able to get the kind of servicing that they should get, then directly the recovery, they will link it with the, the repayment of a loan. But the good part is that, a lot of at least 8 to 10 technologies that, I have personally seen, because I was a part of a lot of other GIZ work that they are doing. So a lot of things are available, but and finance, of course, is available. So microfinance is available in all these places. I don't think getting tractor funded is ever a challenge, because that is a part of priority sector lending, and banks are very, very open to do those kind of lending. So I don't think finance is a challenge. But now, since comprehensive credit bureau and all those things have become also quite regularized, if you do not have a good repayment history, then obviously you will have challenges in accessing that finance, or it will come at a cost for you.
Do you want to comment on this?
Just to add what Ms. Puri said, I feel that since from NABARD we have promoted the FPOs of the paddy growers, and also that they can tackle the paddy straw which is from their field. So there are technologies available, there are markets available, finance available, but that is the problem I feel is the scaling up. So how to scale up these things, how to bring them together and make it a viable, that's where FPOs can definitely play a role. But it is maybe a year or 2 year old organizations. So they will take some time to establish themselves and see the impact in the field. And coming to the finance, Ms. Puri has already said about it. NAFINS does not have any portfolio in Punjab as such. But definitely the MFI sector can definitely help these farmers, or women, particularly women, maybe associations, JLGs and all, to set up maybe the happy seeders, or maybe pulverizing machines. These are all kind of which can be obtained in, say, maybe within 5 lakh rupees, and the group can access it and use it for their members. So that possibility is very much there. But some sort of a nucleus or some sort of a binding force to bring them together is very much required, I feel.
Mr. Datta, as Rabobank, do you kind of agree with this assessment? Or,
Well, I would agree with what Purvi is saying, because a lot of technology has been developed, but as she said, this year has been a big disappointment because the technology, not only does it have to work, it has to be adopted. So there has been huge reluctance of the farmers to use it in season 2. They used it in the last season because as per the ground level, it's not working. So if we have technology which is not working, which is not optimal, which is solving the farmer's problem, it's not going to get financed. So the technology needs to demonstrate that it will work and it's solving a problem, only then financing is going to kick in. But I don't think that technology is yet available.
so then aren't we in some kind of a catch-22 situation? That is, people want proof that a technology works. If it works, only then we will invest in it. But
Absolutely.
investing in it requires money.
The initial development will not be done by the financial services sector. It will be done by the universities, research institutions, etc.
Yes.
They need to do the initial development. Financing is going to come up later. You would like to add?
Yes, Mr.
Just add a point. I think the point that we are talking is not only about Punjab, but if you go into any part of the country. And I think that's a discussion that we are also having with Sa-Dhan, JIZ and some of the MFIs, that initially there is a philanthropic capital. Now it could be a government fund or a philanthropy putting in money, wherein you are trying to ensure that the technology is proven on the ground.
Yes.
The community is understanding the technology, the community is adopting it. It is also maybe initially contributing a percentage towards that technology. Once you are able to prove that to a certain scale, then how do you engage with MFIs to take it to the next level of scale? We have been trying to do that again with some of the MFIs. So I'm again not taking the example of Punjab, but you take a farmer, tribal farmer in Odisha in Keonjhar, a sub-HP pump of about 50,000 rupees. So we have been able to do some work with them, and as also Arindom mentioned, some funding that we were able to link through that resources. There we were able to see, okay, 50,000, okay, we were initially supporting it through some philanthropic capital, but we are seeing a good traction from MFIs also to now build up a loan product for that 50,000 product, so that it kicks off and it scales. I think that's the point which he is also mentioning, that technology has to be proven, and unfortunately what happens is everybody blames the technology. It is also the way the technology is being taken on ground.
Okay.
So how do you also work on those pieces?
In fact, at this point, so there is one issue regarding, using technologies that, like, for example, a happy seeder or, big tractors. But then there is also a new thing happening, which is that farmers once upon a time just wanted somebody to take away the stubble.
Right.
But now farmers want money for the stubble, because now there is an ancillary set of industries that say that, okay, we will use your stubble and we will make pellets and, we will use it to make energy.
Yes.
Now, those things seem to be a little more developed in terms of technological sense. People all know that how to make agri-waste biomass into energy.
Right.
So is there better scope for things like that is using stubble for other stuff, rather than expecting farmers to kind of invest and take care of the burden themselves?
Yeah. So again, there are these players who are now coming up saying it's a business opportunity.
Yes.
So farmer, apart the paddy that he or she sells, is also able to sell the stubble, maybe on a very small price, but that's something taken care by somebody else for the farmer. And then that is being used for creating energy or biochar and various other things. So there are new business opportunities which are coming in this space. But the main point here is the technology. How do you ensure that the technology is really proven?
So there's a hesitation to fund them. Then
Hesitation to fund. Initially, somebody has to take that risk. And I think that's what Rabo Foundation or Tata Trust type entities will do, to put that risk in front and see that, yes, technology can be supporting the end users, and see how things could be then. Then the MFIs
wondering if
bring
Shailendra would like to add his thoughts on this.
Thanks. Yes. I'll try to bring a different perspective to this. No, I mean, responding to climate crisis normally, can't be reactive in nature. So there is a problem and you start finding out solutions for that. Alternatively, we can also think about what are the alternative options, no? So imagine now if 10% of the land is diverted to a different type of cropping pattern. That is also addressing the problem of this burning. And that's what Haryana government has done. No, they have launched certain incentives which actually promotes or incentivizes farmers to move to a less water-intensive crop. Now, we had conducted a series of online dialogues with MFIs, and one point which had come up very strongly was need for climate literacy amongst MFIs, amongst all FIs. No? Now, can you visualize a situation where the whole area is water stressed, and your climate projection clearly says that maybe in next 15, 20 years, you can't even grow paddy in that area? Then why are we trying to promote a solution which actually incentivizes cultivating more and more rice rather than diversifying it? So I think we as MFIs also need to think about it. What will be the scenario in terms of business 15, 20 years down the line? I mean, that was one very encouraging kind of a response which came from some of the speakers in those online dialogues, I think primarily from this sector also. So parallelly, I mean, we should also think about alternatives. Can we also think about some products which kind of incentivize moving away from these kind of practices, which can still be made as a bankable option as well. No? So that's what also we are trying to do with what Ganesh was saying, no? That let's help them see the larger picture, what will happen to the availability of water, soil, etc., and then think about option rather than reacting to a crisis. Because recently, even in some of the coastal area in Odisha, some zones have completely reached to a point which is called point of no return. You cannot grow in certain areas paddy anymore. And the government has come up with the regulation. So as a kind of financial institution, fraternity, we have to be cognizant of that reality as well. Thank you.
So again, farmers have, and you spoke about coastal people, over there. So this could also include fishermen, etc. So one issue, farmers observe that there are climatic changes, and they observe that it is affecting their crops. I mean, we see that, harvests are affected. We see that sometimes because of bad timings of crop cycles, apples that are grown and harvested are just thrown on the road because they're not going to get a remunerative price. So, but in this situation, now climate everybody talks about climate, but have as MFIs or, lending institutions, how do you see farmers perceive this thing as climate change? Do they perceive it only as my crops are getting affected, or do they see these, huge, there are GHG gases that are heating atmosphere, and therefore have, long-term shifts, etc. How much has that message actually gone to farmers, and what are institutions like MFIs or others doing about spreading this kind of awareness?
Thanks, Jacob. I mean, this is interesting. So farmers don't use the term climate or Jalvayu Parivartan, no, because they have their own, they are experiencing it. So they are experiencing extreme weather conditions, extreme precipitation, extreme drought, late onset of monsoons. So in the climate language, we call them climate hazards, no? So they are experiencing it. Now we have to actually, and that's what we learned in the very early phase, that if you have to open up any conversation on climate, we have to use the language which they understand it, no? So as part of our initiative to kind of orient, to sensitize FPOs, FPCs, and to some extent MFIs also, we have made around 16, 17 these indicators which they can easily relate to, related to precipitation, drought, frost, cyclones, etc. And then you use that as a entry point to help them see that how they have been changing over the years, no? And they can clearly see that now they are experiencing much more uncertainty, extreme weather conditions, which kind of maybe in one go kind of impact them in a way which takes them years to recover all those things. Now, unfortunately, they are helpless. No, what can they do about climate hazards? And that's where, I mean, this fraternity also, no, I mean, AgTech provider, MFI, will have to really figure out, can we hedge, say, 10, 20% of their risk through some diverting some of their kind of actions in a different area. So that's something which we need to, and that's what we are trying to do. Yeah. If these models, I mean, next 2 years, I think I'm sure GIZ along with Tata Trust, no, will monitor the impact which Arindom brought out. No, it's extremely important to have verifiable data to kind of demonstrate that yes, these measures have enhanced the climate resilience or reduced the climate risk. No, only then you can actually bring in investors, or you can kind of approach regulators or policymakers to bring in some incentivize these kind of approaches and instruments. No?
Mr. Datta, but question is, how do you convince the farmer? Because in one sense, he just sees you as an institution that is just going to give a loan, or to him it is another cycle of debt probably. How do you convince yourself that, convince them that you as institutions are beyond just money lenders and you're looking at sustainable solutions? How do you solve the problem of finance here?
Well, Jacob, I think he answered the question that for farmers, and it's a global issue, it's not an Indian issue. It's about protecting their income and enhancing their income. It's about sustainable incomes more than environment sustainability. That's the language they understand. How do we protect water tables? How do we improve the quality of the soil? How do we give them the right kind of seed so that in spite of all the variances in weather we are seeing, they can still get the output that they desire, the connect to the market. So I mean, even with retail customers in the urban areas, you don't talk about climate. You talk about other aspects which make people adopt and change behavior. Climate is just too vague a word.
So do you have to put in, like government, there is the carrot and stick approach. So government, so whenever things have to be done, there is carrots, but government also puts sticks on us.
Absolutely.
So
if you
do
look
sticks
at,
work? Yeah.
I'll just give you an example. If you look at European financial institutions, whether on the debt, capital, debt equity, or in the capital market front, it's going dark green. India is still brown. The financial institutions do not have the right kind of green financing products. But having said that, this was not triggered off by the financial institutions in India, in Europe, having a very good heart and trying to be proactive about climate change. It was the regulators who came up with this. Once the regulators said, okay, this is what you need to do, they had no choice but to follow.
So Purvi, in terms of this very interesting question about regulators, for instance. Now, if it is finance, we all know that government has a major role to play in terms of not only finance but also ensuring last mile connectivity where finance goes. So in this situation today, how do you see government's role in terms of, I don't know, collaborating, assisting, bringing regulatory, assistances to ensuring that microfinance is able to help farmers and rural communities, live sustainable lives, as has been discussed here?
Okay, so before asking something from government or other agencies, I think it is, if you look at a dual approach, I think first it is in the interest of the MFIs that they work on it. Because as I said, 75% of our customers are in rural areas, and they are dependent on agriculture directly or indirectly. So any negative impact on the crop or agriculture produce impacts the repayment capacity. So forget somebody coming and telling me that I have to do this. I think it is in my own interest that I take interest in what is happening in that ecosystem, and we start working on it. Also, the kind of climate smart agriculture and the techniques and green businesses and all of that we are talking about, I think that also gives us a huge opportunity as an institution where we can contribute, because it's a huge business opportunity. And with the help of regulation, the recent regulation by RBI, and overall positiveness in the economy, I think we are so well placed to take advantage of this situation, irrespective of somebody coming and pushing us to do that. But if you were to look at some sort of a support, I think I'm sure NABARD, SIDBI, Mudra, the government agencies are quite active. But maybe some good fund, some sort of support to drive this behavior even at an institution level may be a great idea.
Mr. Hegde, do you agree? Because you're somebody who's spent time with NABARD, you're still affiliated kind of them.
To take the suggestion made by Ms. Purvi, I feel MFI financing may be a bit, the farmers may find it a bit expensive and all. So blending with some soft loans will make it more attractive and maybe quite useful. Maybe Mudra can be extended to MFI sector as well. up to Shishu, because for example, Shishu is there up to 50,000. So that can be very much, can be extended to MFIs. So that we can take it to the villages, and the women entrepreneurs can come up in a big way, along with the banks. So that is one thing. And second thing is, involving farmers and all, we have developed watersheds. So in these places, already the climate aspect is to certain extent is addressed. So to make those assets sustainable, I think MFIs can definitely go there and finance allied sector, finance agriculture related activities. So there is a great scope available. Wherever already the governments have developed, NABARD has developed watersheds in 2 million hectares. So already that sort of sustainability has been brought in. So there MFS can go and play an active role and finance these women and other small farmers, so that some tangible assets can be created and their livelihoods are ensured.
Ganesh, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, so mainly from the regulator's perspective to put across, and again I'm talking from the end user's perspective here, is again what does a small and marginal farmer need? He or she basically needs that if she is doing agriculture, then before the season she has the seeds, she has the fertilizers and all the support systems to look at. And now for that she needs capital. Now when the capital is required, how do you ensure that the capital is given to her on a timely manner and in an affordable manner? Now again, the interest rates also should not be high to look at. Now if one is able to ensure this ecosystem, and if the regulator is able to structure this in a manner that maybe a MFI or a bank or anybody else can actually play that role and provide that loan to her when she needs it, I think it will solve a lot of issues, including climate, in this larger ecosystem. Somehow all of us are trying to do our things individually, in silos. Even the regulator is trying to do it in a silo. We are trying to do in a silo. How do we basically work together as a group and see how to engage with the smallholder to address the problem? Because that's when, as Arindom mentioned, agriculture is the second largest polluter to say in this case. But agriculture is also one of the largest, employers in terms of the livelihood.
The original green economy.
Right, for the communities. So you need to see how you basically look at both these aspects, but in a positive manner. And support the smallholders to do agriculture as a business opportunity, but also addressing the climate aspects together. And that's where I think as organizations, partners, we need to work together. That's the point to
Can I just add one
sure.
point, small point? Now, from a regulator's perspective, they are never going to set green targets for the financial institution. What they are going to do is, they are going to tell you, do you understand the climate risk on your balance sheet? So it starts with risk management, that have you been able to put a number? Have you been able to put aside capital for the climate risk that you're carrying on the balance sheet and the impact of climate on your clients that you're financing? It starts with that. They force you to recognize the climate risk, to build up a mechanism to be able to monitor it, put a number to it, to be able to put aside capital. And that's where the realization comes within the financial institution that we start off with risk management, but it could also lead to business development. But we need to understand what climate risks are. That's the first step.
That's very well said. So I think, there's so many more avenues to this, but I think we're almost heading towards 3 o'clock. So I would like to open up the panel to questions from the audience. So anybody would have a question for any of our panelists, please raise your hands and I would direct it. Clearly, we have been extremely clear and the clarity has been awesome. So now that we have some more time, I think we could just take up a couple of more issues. Oh, we have a question over there. So if you could just introduce yourself and... Can somebody send a mic? Excuse me.
What I find, couple of things.
Mic is off. Yeah, okay.
Couple of things at this juncture probably regulator can think of. You might be knowing the ESG, environment, social, and governance. These guidelines have been applicable not from regulator. Some of the big institutions, some 1,000 MFIs, NBFCs, this year companies, mostly companies, this has been made mandatory. For MFIs, this of course some social things are there, governance is there, but the environment kind of thing has not come. Possibly at this stage, the ESG assessment of each MFI has to be done so that there is some kind of discussion on the environment aspect.
Yeah.
The second aspect is this, he told about the risk management, climate risk. Actually, in kind of company law, or, again, these risk management committees are there applicable to the bigger MFIs. But it is smaller and marginal MFIs, small scale, this risk management assessment or risk management committee is not mandatory. So some of these MFIs, they say it is not mandatory, why should you have a risk management? Once this risk management assessment becomes mandatory, then your climate risk also will be a part of that risk management. The another thing, agriculture finance by the banks have increased because of the regulatory instructions that 18% of your priority sector has to go for agriculture. It has not come just because people are interested in agriculture. So if you see the balance sheet of most of the MFIs, particularly small and medium, the purpose for which the loan is given is not emphasized. Some big MFIs are giving agriculture, this, that, industry, services, but particularly financing agriculture, reporting for agriculture, how much, the purpose for which the loan is given, because the focus is financial inclusion.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Monti. I think because we really appreciate your thoughts, but we would just like to have a round of opening. No, we can have one of our panelists just kind of respond.
Only that there should be kind of reporting on agriculture to financing agriculture.
Sure. Thank you. So in closing, I would like to any of our panelists would like to make any closing remarks on the questions that have been raised and the general discussion that we've had now.
Maybe 2 points I want to make. I mean, we have to acknowledge that climate is a complex topic. It cannot be analyzed from a sectoral, and it's an evolving science. I mean, you bring 2 climate scientists or climate modelers, they will never agree to the kind of projections. So that's the challenge. Now, regulators also need, I mean, Arindom spoke about it, well-researched category of rules and standards. The point is, I mean, that has to be somehow, I mean, it has to be researched. So that's one of the area actually where regulators also feel a bit kind of a lack of enough knowledge and kind of to really devise those rules. So we have to be kind of cognizant of that reality as well. That was one. Being a complex kind of subject, it always demands collaboration and cooperation. So MFIs must be open. I mean, that's what we are trying. We are bringing AgTech providers, MFIs, and FPOs together because it is impacting everybody, right? So regulation is one part, but this realization of the fact that now we are in a crisis, and if we don't do something, we can't handle it alone. We have to come together, and let's figure out something. That's where the role of NABARD and Sa-Dhan can, I mean, be very, very kind of catalyst.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dwivedi. So I think, would you like to make any closing remarks, or does anybody else have a point to add? Okay, I guess we are pretty much, we've had a very stimulating discussion on a wide aspect of, marrying these 3 fields. I'd like to thank all my panelists for, taking time out and, contributing so valuably. And over to the next session, over to the speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, panelists, for this wonderfully managed the session. One thing to update you, the audience, we have developed 2 modules with the help of in this Sa-Dhan, GIZ and the Turtle Plus. So we have developed it. It will give you the brief idea what exactly we are doing on the production cluster hub and on this financing opportunity for this impact financing. So it will give you more idea about it, and you will get the copy here from there. So it will help you to get the more idea. So I just request Mr. Somesh, they are Deputy Director Sa-Dhan, to present a memento to our esteemed panelists. To start with Mr. Jacob Koshy, who moderated the session very well. The center. Mr. Ganesh, Neelam. Mr. Arindom, Datta. Mr. Shailendra Dwivedi. Dr. Divakar Hegde. Ms. Purvi, Bhavsar. I request all of you for the group photographs, please. Somesh sir, please group photograph. Thank you so much, everyone. I request you please collect these 2 documents from that desk. It will give you more idea about our work. Thank you. So now we have a tea break. So after that, we will join for our next session. It will start at 3:15 in the same hall. So I request all of you, please keep your bags with you because these 2 halls going to be merged. So we will not lose your belongings. Please carry your belongings with you. Thank you.
Almost